always believed that if you're going to spend, an hour of your life listening to someone, you should probably get to know who that person is a little bit and why you should listen to them. So allow me to introduce myself briefly. So my name is Rob Triggs, and I am first and foremost a happy husband and a dad to two really good kids. They're both off to university now, which is pretty exciting. I'm a sales leadership consultant, so I spend my days doing two things: helping other companies leverage tools and sales training and processes to increase sales. But I also run our company's sales organization as well. My original background in sales, how did I get into sales? Well, I spent 17 years at Xerox, and I think it's worth noting that because most people believe and share that Xerox has really spent a lot of time investing in sales training, and most people who know about Xerox also would say that the Xerox training ground is quite a strong one, and I would like to attest that it is. I learned a lot about selling from Xerox, and I'm really proud of that. Had a lot of success there. I went from a salesperson, sales manager. My final role at Xerox was a general manager with full P&L responsibility, so I'm really proud of that experience. But now I spend my time learning as much as I can about everything to do with sales. I like to call myself a sales junkie. I read a lot of sales books, and I practice what I preach because I'm responsible for sales for our company. So I am the Sales and Marketing VP for a company called Serum Dynamics. Now, a little bit about us, and then I'll jump right into the content. So who is Serum Dynamics? So we are a gold certified Microsoft Dynamics Serum partner. So we install and implement and help organizations use Dynamics CRM, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM platform, to do things like have greater success with sales and marketing, with supporting existing customers through case management, and many other things. But our focus is really helping customers use CRM to grow sales. We focused on business strategy. It's not just about CRM. I've never met a company before that has installed a CRM tool and all of a sudden sales started taking off. It just doesn't work that way normally. So we focus on business strategy. We offer the services through the Microsoft Online Cloud. We do a very strong, we have a very strong digital marketing practice, which I'm going to touch on a lot of that today. We've been working with CRM systems for over 20 years, even before Dynamics came out, but we chose Dynamics because of its strong capabilities, and last but not least, we use it to help customers sell more through sales automation. So that's enough about us. What I want to jump into now is the three things that we're going to talk about. And first of all, I'd like to share some facts. These three statistics are really the premise of the entire presentation. So the first one is that the buying process has changed. And if you're going to be a successful salesperson, it's important to understand how your ideal customer is buying. And if their buying process has changed, you're going to need to realign how you're selling to take advantage of those changes. The second fact is that 50% of leads are mismanaged. And this is a statistic that comes from one main source that I'll get into a little bit later, but it also comes from some research we've done ourselves. So all it's saying is every lead that comes into the company, half of them are mismanaged and they fall on the floor. And I have some evidence of that today. The third and final fact that we'll explore today is that lead nurturing, so the concept of nurturing leads, drives much more sales at much lower costs. And we'll be talking about how you can take advantage of that fact today. So let's dig into this first one, fact number one. So today's buyers are anywhere from 60 to 90% of the way through their buying process or their purchasing process before they even reach out to a vendor. Now this statistic has been quoted from many different sources. This one is coming from an organization called Forrester Research, but I've seen it from many different companies. Even Microsoft has a slide on this that they've done some research. And the percentages vary. Sometimes it's as low as 40% and sometimes it's up in the middle 90s. But in any event, everyone agrees that the buying process has changed, and this is true. And you can even think about it yourself. So the last time you bought something major, let's say it's a car, you bought a new car. So typically you wouldn't just go drive around until you find a car dealership, show up and tell the salesperson that you think you might want to buy a car, and then you go through the buying process. The first place you would probably go is online, and you would do a lot of research. You would build your car online. You would get quotes online. You would go to third-party companies and do reviews. So that buying process in our personal lives has spilt over into the business world. So there's really three things that you can do to make sure that you are selling more, and that is to attract those people that are in that buying window, engage them in a way that is relevant to them and meaningful, and then if you do that well, the conversion process is quite easy. And as salespeople, we spend a lot of time thinking about converting. Well, as salespeople, we really need to consider all three of these things more now than ever before. So like I said earlier, we practice what we preach. We help customers and companies do this, but we believe doing it ourselves and being experts first. So here's what we did. So we shifted our sales model from what I call an outbound sales model to an inbound sales model, which leverages a lot of the three facts I just said. And the outcome of what we saw is we saw a 350% increase in leads from our web presence or our website or digital social tools, things like that. And then we also saw a conversion of those leads from 7 to 38%. So of the few leads we did get coming in through our digital and web, we weren't converting very many. We put a couple of key things in place and we saw that increased spike. The end result was this, a 220% increase in sales, and I didn't have to add any more people. So I'll say that again, a 220% increase in sales, and I did not have to add any more people. If there's any VPs of sales or owners on the line, that's probably music to your ears, and it's true. It does work. So how does it work? Well, the first thing that has to happen is sales and marketing need to work more collaboratively together. Now, in my company, I have the fortunate position to be responsible for both sales and marketing, although I have very, very strong marketing support from our team. But we work well together because I own both of them. In your companies, though, it's important that sales and marketing work together well. So here's a picture of myself at the bottom. I'm the sales guy. And then one of the marketing team members. And what we need to do is something, if you leverage this analogy of a volleyball team, you see the guys playing volleyball. So if you imagine that number 16 there, he's the marketing person. His job is to set the ball. You can see in the picture he just set that ball. You can just see the ball coming out of the view of the picture, and then the other person's about to spike it. So what I like to say is number 16 is like the marketing person. The marketing person's done a great job setting that ball, and then the salesperson spikes it. And I like to make fun of my marketing people, so I like to make his head spin. I don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty funny to me. Anyway, so these leads come in and we qualify leads, we convert them. Most of you would say, yeah, well, our marketing team does that. They have a website and we do social media and we get leads and the leads are terrible and and life goes on. And that's what I see when I go out to customers. They say, Rob, I have all that. I have a website. I have social media. I have those things. And our leads come in and they're terrible. So the key thing is when you're putting these things in place, the leads almost generate by themselves, but they really don't generate by themselves. So let's dig in a little bit and see how we do this. So the first step is to take a look at your customer's journey. So depending on what you sell, let's say you sell software, your customer is going to have a very different buying journey, you would think, than someone who's buying concrete slabs. I can't think of it, you know. So depending on what you're selling, your customer is going to go through a certain process. What's happening, though, is the way we buy in our personal lives. So most of us have smartphones. Most of us, if not all of us on the line today, know how to do an online search and find things. And so more of our B2B customers, if you're in the B2B space, are doing that. If you're B2C has been doing this for a while. This is what we do. But in any event, what we do is we walk through these different stages. So we start off with our social conversations. So we need to make sure that when our customers are searching for things, that we're having conversations with them where they're doing that research. So on your website, things like that, in social channels. Then the next step is when they contact you via phone or email or chat or what have you, that we're able to capture that information very quickly and then we're able to triage and nurture those leads into what they need to be. Now, in not all cases should the salesperson be the one who's doing the triaging and doing the nurturing. Sometimes it should be marketing still, but we'll get into that more in a bit. Now, most of you who have been selling for a while, some of you may have some professional sales training and some of you may not. But in any event, this is sort of the 9 stages of what any company goes through, or even person for that matter, but mainly company. I'll focus on B2B for this example. They go through these stages. So the first thing is the customer has some type of a business symptom. They may not know about what's causing it, but they have a symptom that they'd like to fix. The next thing that happens is that turns into some kind of pain. There's some pain, not hitting their sales numbers, their production numbers are off, they're not expanding as fast into a country they wanted to, whatever it might be. Or there's an opportunity. So maybe there's an opportunity that presents itself and they don't have a way of taking advantage of it. The third one is once those 2 things have happened and they decide they want to do something about it, they would form some kind of a plan to do something. Now, if you approach a company that's going through any of those 3 phases, you have the best opportunity to influence the decision. Once a company drops out of that top part of the funnel into the bottom one, they start researching solutions to their problem. So the plan turns into what should I buy to solve this problem. Then it turns in who should I be buying from once I know what I'm going to buy. And then how should I buy? Should I do an RFI first? Should I do the dreaded RFP? Should I call my trusted advisor? What should I do? They select a vendor after they're done that process, who I'm going to buy from. They negotiate their terms, and they finally make the purchase. So let me show you what we've been doing on the sales side for all these years. So on the left-hand side are 5 different types of sales methodologies. Again, some of you that have professional sales training may be familiar with some of these, and some of you may not. But the first one here is BANT. And BANT stands for Budget, Authority, Need, and Time Frame. And it's one way of selling. And I would say that if you're using this type of selling, what's happening is you're really only addressing the bottom part of the funnel. So you're only addressing after the customer has already either gone through their RFI process to know what they're going to buy, and they've assigned a budget to what they're going to buy, then they make their decision. So it's very little to influence a customer if you're engaged at that stage of their buying process. There's another methodology called Sandler. And Sandler would allow you to address a little bit more of the bottom part of that funnel, but still you're just competing with other vendors. You're not viewed as a trusted advisor. You're not solution selling. You're just trying to win a piece of business. And unfortunately, this is how most of us sell. The next example on here is called spin selling, and that stands for situation, problem, implication, and need. It's been around for a very long time. And if you're using spin selling, you're starting to address the entire bottom part of that funnel. The only issue with that is if you're using spin, is the customer already knows what they're going to do. They already have a plan in place, as it says in this 3rd stage here. And they're researching potential solutions. So what you're doing there is you're trying to convince them that your solution is better than the others. Then the next way of selling is a type of solution selling. And the one I'm highlighting here is called TAS, Target Account Selling. It's one of the ones that I'm certified in. And Target Account Selling allows you now to start helping the customer solve the problem that they have. So they've already realized they have business pain. They haven't put a plan in place yet, but you engage at that stage and you help them decide what it is they should do. So for years, this is the way I've been selling, and it's quite successful. It can be very long sales cycles, but for large enough opportunities, it totally is worth the while. Now, the ultimate way of selling is a true consultative selling model. And the one I'm highlighting here is called the Challenger Sale. In the Challenger Sale, there's actually a really good book you can buy online. You can order it. It's called the Challenger Sale. And it's a very good process for selling. And so if you're using the Challenger Sale, what that helps you do is that helps you get in front of a customer, make them aware that they have either an opportunity that they weren't aware of, or they have a business symptom or problem they weren't even aware of, and you present how your solution solves those problems before they even know they had one. So that's the ultimate level of consultative selling, okay? Now, the only problem with all of these things is this is a sales-led process. But what I said earlier is that the customer is on average between 60 and 90% of the way through their process before they reach out to a salesperson. So we've got an issue. So we're investing all this money and time into sales training, but our sales people aren't even getting in front of those customers 60 to 90% of the time. So what should we do? And that's really what I want to talk about. So the companies that are excelling at lead nurture are generating 50% more sales-ready leads at 33% lower cost. And we've tested, we're up to 1,700 companies now that we've tested their ability to convert a lead from their website. So what we did is we have gone out to these companies, we went to their website, we submitted a lead for their product, so it was in context. So if they sold computers, we said we're looking for a new computer and so on. We tested 1,700 companies so far, we keep doing more, and these are the results. 54% of the time, the lead we submitted, no one ever got back to us. So I want to pause here for a second because this is probably the most important part of the whole presentation. We tested 1,700 companies in Canada. It didn't matter the industry. We submitted a lead to their website, and over half of them never got back to us. So I think that's staggering. Most people we present to also think it's staggering, but there's more. Of the ones that got back to us, 75% of them took more than 1 hour. So in a lot of cases, after 1 hour, I've probably found somebody else and I'm working with them, depending on what it is I'm selling. So, you know, that's also staggering. And then the ones that did get back to us, 82% of those never tried a second attempt. So they would get back to us and say, yes, we can help you, and then they never got back to us a second time. So they just gave up. The next one is 4 days was the average response time. So of the ones that got back to us, a lot of them took 4 days. Like 4 days is too long. It's way too long. An hour is too long. So 4 days is crazy. And the reason for all of this is because most of them either had a poor tool, so their tools weren't set up properly to help them manage this process, or the actual process they had was broken or not even in place at all. So there's really certain steps that you must go through to make sure your company doesn't fall into that trap. And the first one is to really capture who the person is that is reaching out to you through that social channel or through your website or whatever medium you have in place to do that. So collect their name, their email, their phone number, and important information about them. So you've got that information. Then it's important to quickly qualify. And so are they ready now, meaning they're interested in talking to somebody now, or are they ready later? So they're just trying to collect information to figure out what they should do. So now, if you need to find out what stage of the buying process are they at. If they're ready now, then you can assign it directly to a salesperson. If they'll be ready later, then marketing can nurture that a little bit more. So then you assign it to the right resource. So if they're ready now, sales can get it. If they're ready later, you would nurture them. If you're nurturing them, then digitally nurturing them allows the prospects to grow until they are turned into a ready now. Most of us, because sales, in most companies, sales gets all leads that come in, if not, most if not all the leads that come in. Salespeople will gravitate towards the ones that are ready to buy now or ready to buy soon. They're not going to nurture those other ones in most cases. And so you need to find a way to nurture those so they don't go away. You spend all that money to attract them, and a lot of them are falling away, as my last example. And the last thing is, if your salespeople are just working with the ones that are ready now, they're just going through that process of what I like to call proposing and closing. So any one of my salespeople, I like them focusing on those two things, proposing, or they're doing presentations, and closing. That's really all the two things they should be doing. And then the post-sale to make sure everything's gone okay. All right, so attract, engage, and convert is the name. Now, here's what most companies do. they hand leads over to salespeople and they hope that the salesperson can close the business. And I've often said this and it resonated. Hope is not a strategy. So you need to find a much better strategy than hoping. So, and here's why it doesn't work. It's because there's three types of leads that come in. And well, if we categorize them into these three buckets. So the first one is buy now. I am ready to buy now. The second one is I'm going to buy later. I'm just not sure what I'm going to buy yet. And then the third one is they're not really sure. Okay, so they can only really be those three things. The only fourth kind of lead is someone who accidentally found you and they're not really a lead at all. And I don't know about you, but we get some of those as well. So again, here's the conversion process. So who are they? So who are these people or businesses and what do they want? So in the what do they want, that's where you qualify them. And then you assign it. It's important to have your structure set up properly so you're assigning it to the right person. How can you best help them? Do you help them with an inside person, an outside salesperson, a marketing person? How do you help them through the process? Educating and influence. So how do you educate that customer and influence them that your solution, your product or solution is the best one for them? And then the last stage is proposing. That's in line with what they're looking for, and then close the deal. And one of the most important things is to make sure that you're doing this quickly. So when a lead comes in, whether it comes in through the web or someone calls or you have an opportunity come up, it's important to do it quickly. So on the left-hand side of this slide, we have the lead piece of earth, and on the right-hand side, we have the opportunity piece of earth. The bigger the distance between those 2 points, the easier it is for the salesperson to fall into that trap. So time is of the essence. Most studies say that you need to be responding to digital leads, so web and social things like that, within 5 minutes. So if you're taking longer than 5 minutes for a digital lead, you're really leaving it to sort of die on the vine. So I've got a story that I like to share quickly, and this comes from one of the team members that I have, and he told me a story that he needed a new window, or he needed new windows for his house. So he was a buy now. He just wanted to find someone who was good, and he wanted to buy his windows. And price was part of it, but not a big part. So he went to a company called, or a website called HomeStars, and HomeStars is a company that allows contractors to list their business so that you can easily find them. And there's ratings and kind of like TripAdvisor for contractors. And so they pay for that service, and that was good. So this person filled in the form once they settled on the window vendor that he wanted to talk to. He filled it in, sent it in, and waited, and he got no response. So he finally did get a response, and he was called by somebody inside the office and said, Bob or Fred or someone would call you tomorrow. And no one ever called. So in the end, this person ended up buying from somebody else. And so if you look at that for a minute, that is another example of what I just shared with you, that 54% of the time, nobody got back to us after submitting a lead. In this case, they had someone getting back via phone, but their process was broken. And so here's this company that spent this money for this HomeStars registration, and even they're dropping the ball. So it's interesting because I've done this test so many times now, and it's an absolute epidemic. And I know that most of you on the phone are salespeople, and you might even be saying, yeah, but how am I going to affect that? I'm the salesperson. You got to really look at this closely because this is how people are buying today. They're using digital tools to decide what they're going to buy, and it doesn't matter what you're selling. I sell CRM solutions, which can be a very strategic, very solution sell type cycle, and it is. But what we found is most of our customers, if not all, have a pretty good idea of which CRM they're going to buy, and they end up engaging. If I wait for them, they engage us and say, I'm either going to buy this one or that one. Why should I buy yours? And then I'm put into a competitive fight. And so anyway, so that's an example of what happens. So here's a model of how it all comes together. I want to show you a couple of models actually. This first one, we call this SMarketing. And I came up with the idea of the word SMarketing probably about 2 years ago now. And it really is two words put together, sales and marketing. We took the S from sales and the M from marketing, and we have SMarketing. And I actually have to take that trademark off because I found out that there's the vice president of sales for HubSpot. He's got a really good book about sales. If you've never read it, I really highly recommend it. And in his book, to my disbelief, he actually used the word SMarketing before I did. So I'll take the trademark off and it's not my word anymore. But anyway, the principle still remains the same. If none of you have a CRM, you really should consider getting one. If you don't have a CRM and you're small enough, you could still run your business using an Excel spreadsheet, but you want to think about having a CRM, and this is why. So at the middle, a good CRM will be structured this way. You will have your accounts or companies in there, all of the ones you currently work for, and if you're smart, all the ones you're trying to go after. So you might buy that list or you might manually put it in, but you've got both types of companies in there, existing clients that you're trying to do business with or you are doing business with, and the ones you're trying to go after. Then you're going to have all of the contacts, so the people that work at those companies listed inside of your CRM. If you're using Dynamic CRM, it also connects to your Outlook as well, so the people in your Outlook folder are also in your CRM and are also on your smartphone, which is pretty cool. And then you're going to be able to manage and track leads that come in, so you know what's happening, when it's happening, what you should do, what's working well, what's not. You'll be able to better manage opportunities. You can create tasks so that you don't forget to do important things at the right time. You're able to access this through a mobility platform on your smartphones or your tablets. And the system will generate pictures or charts and dashboards, so you have a visual cue of what's really going on. And then, so that's how CRM is structured in the middle. And then what you would do is you would take the unique things about your sales process and you would automate some of those things. So you would have the system tell you, for example, I used to work for Xerox selling Xerox equipment, office equipment, and we used to do our own leases. And we knew that if we approached a customer at least 6 months before the lease expired, I had a higher probability of closing that deal. So if the system could reach out to tell me 6 months ahead of time, Rob, you've got these 6 leases coming up, that would have been really good. Back in the day, I used to have to print out from our system all of my lease expiries and sit on the couch at night and highlight the ones that are coming up and then go out to visit them. So the CRM system can tell you when these moments of truth are happening. Okay? And it doesn't need to be lease expires. It can be anything that's important in your business. So anyway, sales process wrapped around your CRM. So what that will do is that will allow you to manage the relationship with your existing customers better. So you can sell them more stuff. You can touch base with them more often on a regular basis to keep them happy. And you can make sure you're aware of what's happening with them as it relates to the rest of your business other than selling. But the other thing it allows you to do is go after those new customers, customers you don't currently do business with, and track the process of landing those. And the way you would do that is we can easily connect your CRM to what we call your web presence. So this is your website, your social media channels, maybe you have a blog, banner ads, things like that. We highly recommend loading some kind of a live chat to your website so you can have a real-time conversation with somebody who has found you online. Okay, highly recommend that. And then all that information is tracked in your Microsoft CRM. Now, this is wonderful. I've got existing customers, I have potential customers, I have what's going on in my social channels, which is all sometimes very hard to track, but now I'm tracking it. And then you need to have some type of a marketing automation platform. So we recommend the Microsoft solution. There's another one called Click Dimensions, which sits inside of your Microsoft Dynamics CRM. You could use HubSpot if you wanted to. You could use Marketo. There's a lot of different marketing automation platforms. We have the most experience with Click Dimensions in the Microsoft platform, but that's up to you. Now, once you have this, what you've got is a perfect scenario. You've got all of the data about your existing potential customers. You have activity in your digital channels that you're tracking so you can measure and do something about it, and you have a marketing automation platform that can automatically do things and nurture those customers. Last and not least, which is a strength of the Microsoft platform, is the ability to connect the CRM to the other systems that you use to manage your business. So maybe you use QuickBooks to manage your finance. Maybe you use Dynamics Great Plains to manage your finances. Maybe you use something else. I've listed a few here: AS400, inventory management system, whatever it is. You have other systems you use in the company to manage the business. Dynamics connects to those, pulls in the information that you need to manage your business, so you have one place to go to get a 360-degree view of your customer. This, if you can take this picture and put this in place for your company, no matter how small they are or how small you are, this is the roadmap to having a proper system in place. The marketing automation platform that we use is ClickDimensions, and it helps mainly, what I want to talk about today, helps with web tracking, so tracking those visitors to the web, capturing who they are, and then putting them on an automatic nurturing or drip campaign to give them the information they need to see so they can make a decision for your product or service without the salesperson doing anything. And that's the best part. The salesperson doesn't have to do anything. Marketing does it. Okay, so to go even deeper, this is how it would work. So remember the model I had up earlier? So I've got my customer going through their process of making a decision from the top of this upside, this funnel down to the bottom. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go out through some kind of a search tool, either Google or Bing in most cases, and they will find information out in the web. So they'll either find it on Facebook, they'll find it maybe on LinkedIn or Twitter, maybe they'll find a blog post that you've written about something. They might even find a YouTube video that you've posted, and then there's many, many others, okay? So once they find that information about what you do or how you maybe helped another customer, they inevitably end up landing on your website. So they land on your website, and if you're using the tools I talked about, we actually track that visit. So that visit gets stored into CRM, and I know that I have a net new person or company that's landed on my website. With the live chat tool loaded, I can now have a real-time dialogue with that visitor on my website. So think about that in terms of a retail store. If somebody went through the process of wanting to buy something, and imagine this cloud is your actual store, and someone walked into your store, you're going to want to say hello to them so they don't leave. Or can I help you? So live chat does the same thing. So as the person comes to your website, live chat actually allows you to, gives you the capability to say hello, can I help you? And then the CRM and the ClickDimensions tools tracks and allows you to automate the rest of the process for sales. All right. So I could probably talk about an hour about this map. So if it's a little bit too rushed, I can go into it at a deeper level if you have any questions later. So the question I would like to ask now is, how good are you on the phone at converting leads? So I told you the statistics that we had earlier. We did 1,700 companies, we tested them, we submitted a lead, and we measured their response. So how quickly they got back to us, whether they did or didn't, and did they try a second time. Well, I've got some interesting news. There's quite a few people that registered for this webinar today. And last week, we took a snapshot of some of the companies that were already registered, and we tested you. So some of the companies that are on the call today, we tested your website. So we actually tested 50 companies. So we took a sample, we took 50 companies really at random, and then we tested all those companies. So we submitted a lead to your website, and we tracked what you did. And I almost wish I had the audio thing open so I could ask if you want to see what happened. But here's what happened. So far, 62% of you haven't responded to us. We're still waiting for a response. And I double-checked it before I came in here, and that number still held true. 71% of you took more than an hour. So the ones that did respond took more than an hour. 80% haven't tried a second time yet. Now that's a little unfair because we only did it last week, but it's been almost a week, and the ones that did get back to us, most haven't tried yet a second time. 4 days average response, and we're still waiting for people to get back to us. So every time I do this, the results are almost the same. The percentages shift a little bit left and right, but it's almost the same each time. I have a list of the companies that we did test, so if you're interested in knowing if you're one of the companies that we did, I'm happy to share that with you to let you know where it failed. Okay, another quick story. So here's a buying car story. So customer needs to buy, and this is a real story by the way. So customer needs to buy a new car, and they're buying now. He's actually buying a pickup truck. It's a friend of mine, and he visits 3 dealers. So he already knows he's buying a Ford pickup truck. He already made that decision. He already knows that. So he visits 4 Ford dealers that are within driving distance of his home, fills in the form. 1 out of those 3 dealers responded. He went and visited a test drive, and he bought the car. Then the second of the 3 called 2 days later. It was too late. He already bought the car. And the third one never did call back. So in the highly transactional business of a car dealership, you would think they have this figured out, but they don't. And so that's just another example. So I want to go through a bit of a summary and then open it up for some questions, for those of you who have some questions. So in summary, number 1, you need to attract more potential customers using your digital channels like blogs, like YouTube videos, other digital tools. And the reason why you need to do that is because 60 to 90% of the time they already know what they want. So you want to be able to influence that as much as possible. The next one is engage. So you really need to implement some type of a lead conversion process, and that doesn't mean just hand it to sales. It means really think through what should your process be. When a lead comes in, how do you handle it? Can you measure them, where they're coming from? Can you measure how you're handling them? Can you improve that? So if you don't know how leads are coming in, how many, you got to get all over that. You need to do this. The effectiveness of salespeople doing outbound calling and things like that, it's still a tool you should use as part of your process, but it shouldn't be the only thing you're doing. So you need to be fast, you need to leverage a dedicated inside sales resource, and you need to be very relevant in that engagement process. So I talk about using an inside sales resource because if a lead comes in and all your salespeople are on the road and that's the person you're planning on giving the lead to, they're not available right away. You need someone who's available right away, who's knowledgeable about the products or services that you have and can help to convert that person. Okay, and the third step is the conversion. So if you set up your CRM or whatever tool you're using to track and manage this and your marketing automation platform, you're able to digitally nurture those leads, and then you're able to convert more of them. So if you can track and measure what's happening, you'll have greater success. So we have an offer for those of you that are on the webinar today. So if you want your sales process analyzed, a little bit more than just the leads coming in, if you email me at that email address with the subject of sales assessment, I'll have one of my team get back to you to schedule a time for us to do a no-charge sales process assessment just for being part of the webinar and being connected to the Canadian Professional Sales Association and Microsoft. The other thing we're offering today is if you wanted to make sure your company's website gets tested for lead response, visit this URL, so www.crmdynamics.ca/WRA. So if you go to that URL, there's a form there. Fill in that form, and one of my team members will actually conduct that test, and we'll get back to you with the result. So there are 50 companies we did. So if you're curious if that's you, send me the email, and I'll let you know if you're one of the companies we already did. So rob.triggs@CRMDynamics, that's our company name, crmdynamics.ca. Okay, and I'm going to leave this URL up here, and I'm going to open it up for questions at this time. So let me just go into my tool. So if you want to submit a question, if you haven't figured it out yet, there's a little question tool on the side, and you can type in any questions that you have. So we actually have a bunch. Let me pull this out. All right, so the first question is, at the end of the session, I would be curious oh, they're moving. It moved on me. Here, let me go into this tool. Just bear with me for a minute if you don't mind. I'm going to, there's a whole bunch coming in and they're scrolling really fast. So there's probably more questions here that I'm going to be able to answer here. So what I'll do is I will answer as many as I can in the time we have left, and then anything I don't answer, I will send an answer to you separately in an email. Okay, let me look. Okay, some people are asking if their company is one of the ones, so if you email me at that email address, I'll let you know. So everyone's asking about the if their company was one of the ones. Scroll down here. So one question is the webinar available for future viewing? I believe it's been recorded, so we'll be sending that out.
Yeah, correct. They will be sent out.
Perfect.
Via e-blast afterwards.
Are we familiar with other Serum systems, and how does Dynamics differentiate from all the others? Well, there is no other. There's only Dynamics that you should consider. Now, obviously, there's others, so I'm familiar with many of them. So Salesforce.com obviously has to be mentioned, but there are other ones. Really, the top two, what I would call enterprise-class CRM systems, are Dynamics and Salesforce, and both of them are very good. What I would say is it's not so much about the CRM platform that you pick as it is knowing what you want to do with it and knowing how you're going to get the value out of it. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, I've never met a company yet that has just implemented a CRM and magic sales happen. So we only as a company focus on dynamic CRM, and the reason for that is we believe it's the most flexible platform on the marketplace. If you're already using the Microsoft Outlook platform to communicate via email and things like that, it works right out of Outlook, so it just makes sense to use the platform. And then if you're also using some of the other Microsoft products, it just makes sense to use that product. So those are the really high level reasons why we chose as a partner of Microsoft Dynamics. We could also do Salesforce if we wanted to. Microsoft doesn't make us just do Dynamics CRM, but there's hardly anything our customers want to do that I can't do with the Dynamics platform. So someone says that the statistics were an eye-opener that I shared, and thank you for that. And some of you may think I made that up, and I didn't. Try it yourself. Go to our website, submit a lead, and watch how terrible companies are at getting back. And I don't understand it because, you know, all of us invested a lot of money in our websites, and most of us invested in tools like the social media tools. Some of us have people, full-time people, that's all they do. And here you have a customer reaching out to you saying, I would like to learn more about your products, or I would like to buy something. And we don't even get back to them. It's unbelievable to me. So the good thing is it's an opportunity. So depending on what industry you're in, you can actually take this fact that most companies are terrible at it and make sure you're not. Make sure you're the best in your industry at it, and make sure that you've got good quality information out online to help people decide what they should buy and steer them towards buying your product or service. You know, I used to spend back 15 years ago working for Xerox, I used to spend a lot of time doing customer presentations to influence them on what to buy. Now they almost already know what they want to buy, and so my job as a salesperson has changed drastically. Okay, what else do we have here for questions? How can we get a foothold on moving towards this in a very small part of a global organization? We know we need this type of system in our business, but the mothership has a requirement to centrally own and manage IT. That's a very, very, very good question, and it's something that we deal with on a regular basis. We help small companies, mid-sized, and very large enterprises. There are things you can do to affect your area of the world. I don't know your specific situation, But if you wanted to email me, I could talk to you about some of the strategies you could deploy to you know, there's only so much you can control in a large multinational company, but there are some things that you can do depending on your specific situation. My employer requires 3 to 6 months to quote, not 3 to 6 minutes. Okay, this is a good question. So what I was getting at is you don't have to get back to the customer with a quote and proposal. You have to at least respond to the customer. It's like answering the phone at home. If the phone rings 6 times and you finally answer it, they might hang up. If you answer it on the second ring, you can deal with it right away. So all you're doing is stopping the clock. So as long as you can respond to that customer, make them aware that you're on it. You can still take 3 to 6 months to do a quote and proposal and all that type of thing. But if you don't handle it quickly, that initial lead, the odds are they're going to go away and find somebody else. The other thing is you can't treat all leads equally. So you should not give every lead to the salesperson. They're going to get lead fatigue and they're not going to be happy about it. So you really want to build a process where you can assign the leads that are ready now quickly, and you want to take the leads that are not ready now and find a way to nurture them using a lower cost, readily available resource like an inside salesperson. Is there a tool that shows the conversion rate from a lead to an opportunity to a close or loss? Yes, that's a really good question. So the dynamic CRM platform has what they call business rules, workflow, charts, and dashboards. So those are tools we use to automate a process, create a chart to measure what's happening, and then place that on a dashboard so you can visualize it. So that puts in our hands a very, very powerful tool to help companies grow sales. So when I meet with a client, I don't try to sell them CRM. I try to understand what's happening in their business and why can't they sell as effectively as they maybe want to. And sometimes it's process, sometimes it's skills, sales skills, sometimes there's gaps in their digital marketing plan, and the last piece is they are missing the tools to bring it all together. And so that's a really good question. There's a ton of questions in here. Okay, another one. Would I be able to receive yes, so you get a presentation? I would like to share the presentation with my team. Yes, absolutely. I'm flattered that you actually want to share it. Leads and requests often come in from technical or engineering department. We offer a solution, but then it goes to purchasing, and all they look for is a cheaper price. How do you deal with this? Okay, so anytime you're getting distilled down to the cheaper price, it's because you're not high enough up on that buying process. So if someone's already got it down to what they want to buy, and they are trying to find out what your features and price are, you're just being compared with everybody else. So this is the job of an effective professional salesperson. So what the salesperson would do is they would meet with the client and they would try to figure out what are the business reasons this customer is looking at buying this product or service. And if you can get at the business reasons, the business issues, then you can find out that it's really not about price. It's about the value that they believe your solution offers as it relates to solving the business issue they have. So I've managed many, many sales teams over the years, and if you told a salesperson the lowest price you can sell this for is 15% discount, every person would sell it at 15% discount. So if you're in a price war with your competition and with a customer, it's because the customer is not seeing the unique value your solution offers as it relates to them, their business issue. So that's really the focus of what you need to do. I would love to share the presentation. Oh, I got that one. I think that's about it. Is there another one there? Okay, we sell B2B through good one, through distributors. My sales team shows and specs products into end user, then pass the lead to distributor. Would a CRM platform work for us, as we may not always know when the sale is closed? Okay, this is a really common problem when you're selling through other channels, whether they be distributors or partners or whatever. One of the challenges is you're going to have your tools and systems you use as a business, and they're going to have their own tools and systems as a business. And you almost have to sneaker net from one system to the other or create spreadsheets, and it just makes it a lot of work for salespeople. And let's face it, as salespeople, we hate spreadsheets. At least I do. So there's an option for you, is you can leverage a very inexpensive Microsoft Dynamics license model to enable the channel, the partner channel or the distributor channel. You can actually give them a CRM access through a different licensing model, and it's very inexpensive, and it allows you to get the visibility to what's happening on that side of the business. So that's something that you can do. Not all distributors are going to want to do that. So if they don't want to do that, it's really focusing on the top 3 to 6 things you expect from that distributor and the type of reporting that you need to see to know what's working and not working. I know that's a pretty high level way to answer that question, but if you wanted me to dig in, I'm happy to spend some time with you on the phone and maybe dig a bit deeper to see if I can't uncover another way you could do it. Next one, leads and requests often come in from technical and engineering department. Is that the same? Okay, that's another level. Okay, I think that's it, and I think I'm almost out of time. Let me see if there's any more. So these are really good questions. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. What success do you see in companies in hiring external parties for pre-qualifying leads? That's a great question. So I've done this in different roles. So I think it really depends on who you hire. There's some companies out there that say, we're going to get you this many leads, this is what we're going to do, and they deliver the metrics they signed up in their SLA, but I find that the value of those leads are fairly poor depending on how they're getting them. So we used to do pretty much 100% outbound selling, so cold calling, networking events, outbound lead generation. And it was a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy. You still have to do some of that, but then we switched to inbound. So if you go to Google or Bing and you search for Microsoft CRM or Dynamic CRM, Dynamic CRM and sales and things like that, you'll find a lot of our content. You're going to find videos, you're going to find blog posts, you're going to find white papers, you're going to find all different things. So our leads that come in every day are astronomical. It blows me away, and we're not a huge company. So if you do this properly, people will be coming to you. You know that window example I gave? So there's a company that puts contractors, charges contractors, and they generate leads for them through the web. So for your company, you want to make sure that's working for you so you can triage those leads and convert them. And I think I got time for one more. It's 2:59. Let me see if I have other ones here. We do have a web request section on our site. We always get back to them, but not always right away. Do you think we have suffered sales-wise even with a 1 to 2 day response? I would 1,000% tell you that you have suffered sales-wise. I'm not kidding, and it almost feels counterintuitive that you need to respond to someone that fast. It almost feels, because we're Canadian, we tend to like to not be overly aggressive, I think that's part of it. But research has shown that the faster you get back to a digital lead, web lead, the more likely you are to converting them. There's another fellow Canadian, Craig Elias, E-L-I-A-S. He's from Calgary, and he's written a really good book called Trigger Event Selling, and it's all about uncovering what the key triggers are in your customer's world and when to reach out to them to increase your ability to sell. So I highly recommend that book as well. So it's 3 o'clock. That's all the time I have. So I'm gonna jump off here and thank everyone for attending, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this call. Like we said earlier, a recording of the webinar will be sent to you via email as well. So thank you, Rob. Excellent job on the presentation, and thank you to the attendees as well. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.